Hello and welcome to Healing Tips from the Heart, Intuition with Helpers, Healers, and Guides. I am your host, Dr. Lori Hops, licensed psychologist, writer, and artist. I've explored mind, body, and spirit related to intuition, or your personal guidance system, since early childhood. Meet my guests who have learned from their personal and professional lives to explore vast realms of knowing, synchronicities, and overcoming challenges. Their stories may inspire you with tools to enhance your daily living and relationships. Hello and welcome my special guest, Aileen Nealie, who is a licensed psychotherapist since 2003. And she also has her Diplomate in Comprehensive Energy Psychology since 2008. And that organization, ACEP, is how I know her. From 2010 to 2011, she hosted a radio talk show with Voice America called Holistic Answers to Mental Health, which quickly became part of the top 4 most listened to talk shows. She currently is able to be found on YouTube and TikTok with a channel called Keep It Real Therapy, which focuses on delivering mental health and energy healing guidance to people of all different ages and backgrounds. She's also been a presenter at many places in the US and in Spain, including the LA Conscious Expo. And she is a published author on the topic of visualization tools, with a book called Visualize Yourself, Designing the Outcome of Your Life, One Issue at a Time. And all of these methods are offered through her holistic psychotherapy practice, which she has in Southern California. And I want people to know that Aileen and I were in this ACEP organization, kind of like two ships passing in the night. When she was involved in the beginning and then stepped away is right kind of when I came in. And so when we met up in person, we had so many great stories to tell about shared memories that weren't shared together. So anyway, but you have been so generous with this topic today, talking about the very sensitive issue of infertility and issues around pregnancy and loss and so on. It's a deeply personal story and one that's taken you into some really profound awareness. And so I want to thank you from my heart for sharing this story and for sharing this information, which I know will be helpful for a lot of people. So I would love for you to jump in and offer what you'd like today with that.
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, Lori, it is a deep pleasure for me to be able to share, because ultimately my mission is to really try to assist as many individuals that are going through what I have gone through in my life. So that's part of the mission. But I will say a little about me, that I can happily say that I have my miracle baby, as I call him. He is now almost 17 years old, so not a baby anymore. But this process has obviously been very rewarding for me, because I visualized him and I knew that he was coming no matter what. Part of this process has been one where I believe that when we struggle in life, if we are able to utilize that to be able to pass it on, then it's always something that is going to manifest for ourselves and then help other people. And this is the path when I was in the midst of struggling and not knowing exactly what was going on with my body, because traditional doctors would just say, well, there's nothing wrong with you. And granted, I was already 32 years old when I had started trying to conceive, which by this day, it might seem a little bit on the older side, maybe not, but it had been a year of attempts and nothing happening. And so once they did all the testing, then they came up with the idea that we just had unexplained infertility, whatever that is. And through that process, and me being such a driven and determined individual, I started searching for alternative ways. And that is how, just online, I came across the Association for Comprehensive Psychology and understood a little bit about energy psychology. And I went to the first conference. And I felt like home. I'm like, oh my gosh, here I am. This feels so right. But learning got me so inspired to then become a diplomate in comprehensive psychology, because that's what I really wanted to offer, regardless of my process. And throughout time, of course, after several miscarriages, I ended up utilizing some other methods, and then we can get into it a little bit, but just kind of giving you an overall of, yes, I found, or I came across energy psychology because of my struggles, and the visualization part had always been with me. And then some energy healing came about. So here I am.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, congratulations. And,
So much.
maybe that gives people some hope. Although I also do want to say that not everyone has that path of being able to conceive on their own. And they have to make other choices. So, and there can be heartache and celebration in both options of having, quote, your own child and then children through another method, or, through adoption or surrogacy or whatever, or that doesn't happen in your life, and that you find other ways to express your love into the world that may not be that way. So anyway, I just wanted to say that from the beginning.
Yes.
I come from a family that has had a lot of those examples. And so I just like to speak about that. Yeah.
That is very true. No, and it is, ultimately we all have our path.
Yeah.
So that's very true.
Yes. But what was it that helped you? Because I think that through your personal story, you make it more relevant than just to talk in generalities, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I, for one, have always been very connected to spirit. And I grew up in a family that really acknowledged and embraced that. So I wasn't looked at as strange, or just to pacify, or just maybe cover up what I had been experiencing. So I had a lot of visions all the time. And when it came to conceiving, I always felt like there's someone there that's coming for me. I know it. I feel it. I saw it. I saw it through the dreams. When I was about 2 months prior to actually conceiving Sebastian, there was this very old and wise man with a long beard that came through a dream. And he said, "My name is Sebastian. I am your son." And I'm going, "Oh, excuse me." That was so touching, because for one, I'm going, who am I? I mean, you're so wise. And how could that be? You're choosing me. And sure enough, I knew at that very moment, it's a boy. I have to call him Sebastian. And sure enough, there he was. And he has been like that, wise beyond his years. So just as long as that dream just revealed exactly that. And then when it came to the attempts of figuring out, like, what is really going on? Are there emotional blocks? Because a lot of us actually, unknowingly, many times we might think that we're totally fine, that if there was some sort of trauma in our past, that wouldn't affect us, or that we overcame it. And I felt intact in that way, but I still searched, because there must be something. I did some Reiki with some individuals, and then I worked with my mentor, Mary Hammond, who was on the board of ACEP, and she worked with me with TAT, the top acupressure technique.
Uh-huh.
And I knew that there was a shift there.
Okay.
I knew that there was a shift there when she worked with me. And a week after she worked with me, I called her and I said, I'm pregnant.
Ah,
So it was so exciting. And then she continued to help me with TAT altogether. But I should definitely say prior to this that this actually occurred 5 years after, throughout the attempts of trying to conceive and several miscarriages after. So if there was trauma, at least from the process, it was already there because of the fears that we experience from exactly when we miscarry. And then if there's a second pregnancy, then we're just, I can't even describe it with words. It's so, you're so tense.
right.
You're so out of sorts, thinking it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again, no matter how badly you want it or how much you trust the process. And of course, it happened. It happened 4 times.
Yep.
But there was something different with Sebastian. And I'll share this other dream because I think this was really profound. During that week when I still didn't know I was pregnant, I had this dream of two children. It was a girl and a boy, and they were both running in, like, as in, like, coming inside me. And the boy was holding the girl's hand going, come on, let's go. And the little girl just let go of the hand and he just kept running.
Oh,
So I felt like maybe there was another soul that wanted to come through, but he was the one that was determined and said, no, then I'm coming no matter what.
wow.
So that I really believe too, that was the case.
Wow. Thank you for sharing such personal stories. They're so
Mm.
tender for you and in your psyche, and to be so open. I think that a lot of people have these sorts of experiences, and some of them are aware and some aren't. They can come in dreams, or they could be passing thoughts, and people maybe don't pay as much attention, or they get upset about them, and so they kind of push it aside. But so thank you for stepping forward yourself
Mm.
and offering these tender stories that are so profound to
My
help
pleasure.
understand this connection that we have to the spirit world, and to our psyche, and to our unconscious, and whatever it is you call it, to God. Yeah. And to the
Indeed.
souls of people and spirits on the other side that come to be with us. Yeah.
My pleasure. And I understand, and I've worked with many women that have that doubt or that don't necessarily follow through. And it is indeed a doubt. We question our instincts, or we question the things that come. Perhaps we fear them too, absolutely. Um, but that's part of the work that I do with a lot of the women that I work with or have worked with throughout the years is trust.
Yeah.
If you really truly see it and feel it, trust the process. It may not be in the timing that we want. It may not be exactly how we want it. As you were saying, sometimes we have to lean on to IVF or IUI or some other methods. But if you're seeing it and you feel it, know that it's coming.
Yeah. It comes in different forms too. I remember talking with someone who was trying so hard to get pregnant, and I perceived that that the baby that they would have had actually went to their sibling,
Ah, yes.
and that they would be an aunt to that child that could have been theirs, and that also that they would have their own. And that is what came to pass,
Mm.
that they wound up having their own child many years later. But sometimes we have like adjacent relationships with our children. You know what I mean? Like side by side, not
Mhm.
necessarily in our lives in the way we picture it. So to kind of be open to a larger definition of what family is sometimes. But it,
100% agree. Yes. Mhm.
yeah, but interesting about the old man coming to you, your son. I had a similar experience.
Oh, is that right?
So when I was either pregnant or about to become pregnant with my son, my second child. And I also faced infertility in the beginning with my daughter. And then I thought I was facing it again with my son, my second pregnancy. But I woke up and there was a picture of my partner and I by my bed from when we were first dating. And I saw like you can see through, like a hologram. You
Mm-hmm,
can see through
mm-hmm,
to the other side. I saw
mm,
this figure and I could feel it like standing next to my bed, a short, very, 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 very old. Like I can't tell you how old, like beyond what
mm,
I conceive of as being old, like way beyond that person, just with his hands behind his back and just nodding and staring at the photo and then looking over at the bed where we were sleeping because I was half asleep, half awake. And it was mental communication. And
mm,
and I just was like, who are you? And so the idea came like, I'm selecting where to be.
mm.
And so it was like he was deciding whether he would be with us or not and kind of peeking in, like,
I
this is where
see.
you met, this is your picture, this is who you are now. And he didn't say anything, but I could feel like a connection. And then he just like vapor just slowly faded away. And I was like, and then as I woke up, I went, oh my God, I think I just met my next child. And
Mm,
it was so profound. And he does have a very old soul also. And
mm, mm,
he can talk a lot, but he is more quiet and he does observe and he has a quieter, gentler, taking his time sort of a personality. So it's so interesting how they find us.
I love that. I think that's beautiful. And I think that that's the perfect example again of how when we trust and we pay attention, I say, quiet this, all the answers are within our heart. And uh, if the minute that we start questioning what we saw or what we heard or what we think we saw, we're at a loss. So being there in that moment and not questioning it. And the same goes, I think, when it comes to healing work. I'll link this with it because there is a tremendous uh, um, a need for us to really, just as healers, go with the flow. Whatever comes, just trust it. Sometimes it sounds so outrageous and you don't want to say it, or you think, no, maybe that person's not going to hear this right, but catering it to them. Um, so it reminds me a little bit of, when I work with women regarding this particular issue. And there are things that, depending on people's belief systems, are also important to recognize that sometimes the issue of infertility has to do, let's say, with a generational cord.
Mm-hmm.
And that generational cord, we might not even be aware of it. It could have been like great grandmothers and beyond from that, but it's there. There's some issue maybe with trauma, or maybe they had some miscarriages themselves or some fears. And I, as a healer, then go and I cut that cord for them
Mm-hmm.
to set them free to be able to do their own. Other times, if you think and you believe about past lives, there could be some issues associated with a past life that are still kind of lingering, and that needs to be cleared as well. Other times, it's just our chakra system, right? It's so off. And if we start to move that energy, then things start to open up and then it happens. So being able to deliver that and then have the person understand, open yourself up to this because there's something there. And once they do and trust, you see the change or the miracle, as I say.
Yeah, it's tough because we come from such a left brain scientific validity, only exclusively perspective. At least that's what is the predominant view. And I think it's so important to assist that with these other ways of understanding life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And I can tell you, I am thrilled to watch and humble about it each time I see a woman that, within a couple of months, sometimes a session, sometimes that's all it takes, a session, and they'll call me and they'll say, I did it, I'm pregnant, or it's here, or, those messages always touch my heart. And some of them actually it's almost like I become their energy doula.
Yes.
Because then we check in, whether it's once a month or sometimes twice, in a month or so on, all the way through the end of their pregnancy, because some of the fears are still there.
Yeah.
And it's just lovely to have that experience. I just, again, feel so humbled about it.
Yeah, I remember going through infertility myself, and people would say, just relax. And it's like, oh, goodness. Like,
Yeah,
it's the
if it's that
last thing
easy.
that you feel you can do because you're so focused on trying to conceive, and it becomes like the central focus of your being. So that even if you try to relax, it's like so hard to just have it not be the central focus because you've been trying and other people seem to get pregnant so easily, or they keep their pregnancies or whatever it is. And then, and then you go to doctors and you're measuring yourself all the time, and every little nuance of your body becomes like this huge, like, broadcast, of what's happening or what's not. And so it's well-intentioned advice that I found just didn't go anywhere for me.
Oh, I agree 100%. And that applies to everything, even, when people are experiencing anxiety or depression. It's like,
Yeah,
no, it's not that easy, because if it were, we would already have done it.
right.
So
And,
that, but, oh, go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead, please.
No, I wanted to add to this that we don't want to forget about the partner and
Mhm.
what happens to them through
Yes.
the process, or sometimes what they contribute. And sometimes what they contribute can also be negative, meaning, their own energy, their own fears. So there are times when I need to work with a partner as well to clear whatever is there so that then they can definitely procreate.
It's so true. And even more complicated when you're using a, a donor sperm or something else where you're not even connected physically to the partner, you know?
Mhm.
And there's all kinds of energies around that, who the
As
people
well.
are, why they did it, what you're bringing in, how do you carefully choose, and all of that. So
Mhm.
there's so many layers.
Oh my gosh, yes, that, and I mean, the choosing, but I think that goes back to trusting our instincts,
Hmm.
because if that is part of our journey, and it comes down to choosing a donor, or sometimes choosing a surrogate
Yes.
as well. That process I went through with a couple of patients too, and oh my gosh. But it is indeed at the end, like, this feels right, because I don't think that there's anything else that we could do other than that. No
Yeah.
matter how good it looks on paper, if it doesn't feel right, it's just not for you.
No. And I know that um when we're in a relaxed state, it's easier for things to naturally work better. When we're in fear, it kind of shuts off the life force. So how do you work with people when they're so in their heads and anxious and maybe feeling, like you said, anticipatory grief is the way I would
Mhm.
frame it, like you're afraid of the loss that could happen, even though as you want to cling to the life that's there. How do you help people with that?
No, that's a great question. Yes. I don't think that there is I just do this and it works right away. It's really on a case by case scenario, really figuring out what the origin of that problem really is.
Hmm.
So if the origin comes from, as I was saying earlier, a generational cord, then we need to clear that. As an example, I worked with a young lady who, once we did some energy work, it came up for her that she was afraid of death.
Mm.
She realized she was afraid of death because there were so many deaths in her family of young people. And so in that case, we had to work with healing that first, really work through trauma work and all of that. Sometimes I work with archetypes just in terms of counseling and being able to uh, understand what needs to be released from you, what is not yours, and so on. Other people are more uh, just, again, completely off physiologically and energetically. And I just have to teach them. Sometimes it's just teaching them. These are the chakra centers. This is how this works. And then I'll teach them how to activate their own chakras, like some of
Mm,
the energy medicine techniques that Donna Eden uses. Like I'll teach them how to do that, or we do visualization work with it, or
mhm.
teaching them how to ground. Um, Sometimes it is energy work to really help them go back to the depths of the fear, right? Regardless of what it looks like, because sometimes they just don't even know. And the calming effect of whatever calms them. And if it is visualization work for a little bit, we do that. Or if the energy and the frequency work that I do can sometimes cater to those specific situations and just do it for them too.
Beautiful. That's great. So I'm wondering if you might want to share maybe a visualization or something else that you to kind of give us a taste.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. So I will do so from my book,
Okay.
Visualize Self. And I have a section on the process of procreation. So there's infertility and miscarriage, pregnancy itself, connecting with the unborn child's soul, and all of that. Some visualization pieces. But I think I'll choose the one that has to do with the process of procreation and when you're struggling with it, right? And I titled it Keeping the Faith.
Oh,
So,
nice.
okay. So if for those who are listening, if they want to close their eyes at this time and just center, by all means.
Unless you're driving.
Exactly.
And then listen to it later.
So after centering yourself with your breath, find yourself visually lying down over green grass in the middle of a very fertile field. It is sunrise time, and you have the entire view to yourself. You cannot help but look around and notice the effect the sunrise has on nature. The flowers begin to open, the leaves perk up, and the colors seem brighter and much more alive. Extend your hands, your feet, and then your entire body to the sun, and find yourself having the same experience as nature. You begin to shine and blossom. You begin to heal from any physical or emotional blocks you have experienced while trying to conceive a child. Through the sun's rays, you notice the presence of an Almighty, God, Source, universal healing energy, whichever your belief system might be, which comes to pick you up and cradle you. You feel protected, cared for, loved, attended, and healed. Connect with your heart and feel your faith and patience growing. Tell yourself out loud, whatever it takes, I will not give up on my dream to procreate and bring a healthy baby into this world. I deserve it. I am open to it, and I allow the timing of this divine and the readiness of the child's soul to come to me, to my family. Watch as your entire physical body changes colors as a sign of transformation. Express your gratitude to the divine and watch as the presence becomes wrapped up in the sun. Connect with your breath, and once again, as you slowly bring yourself back into your physical space, trust, be patient, believe, and remain focused on this precious goal.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
So welcome. You're so welcome. And these are really coming from the heart, because there's so much gratitude, I have to say too, that I give even in the face of this adversity, that by me going through it, I've been able to then help others. I can't stress that enough, that sometimes when we stay in gratitude, and even though we think, I can't imagine anything worse happening to me, it's just about being patient and transforming that into something beautiful.
Yeah, it takes time, and not everyone gets there, but it makes it a little bit sweeter, that bitterness, if you know that you can help bridge for someone else because you have been there yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Oh, it's so precious and sweet to be able to tap into that yearning that comes from a place of love.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And
Yes.
it's hard to stay open to that vulnerability when we're afraid, or we're thinking, if I love too much, will it be taken? And maybe I'm deluding myself. So there's like all these doubts that come in to kind of, shadow that brightness of that bright
Exactly.
sun that you have us see at sunrise.
Mm-hmm. Yes. In the end, the trust, going with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's hard. I know it's really hard.
Yeah.
But it will take us there. If it's supposed to be, it will be.
Yes. So, do you have any advice for people about how to access their trust when that maybe seems so elusive?
Oh, that is a great question. And that too, I guess, is an individual process, very unique from person to person. But what I can say is maybe just stick to the basics, go back to the aspects of you that come very easily, the things that you see that you manifest very easily. Like some people are really good, say, with making money happen, or they get jobs like that. Obviously, they're trusting when it comes to that. So I usually link them to whatever comes easy. You're obviously doing it. Let's become conscious about how you do that. And then you can transfer this onto here.
That's great advice. I think that when I've done that, what I've noticed is the things that come easily, I don't pay much attention to.
Exactly, exactly.
And so it's kind of counterintuitive. You're like, I want this thing so badly, but maybe my wanting of it is actually somehow stopping the flow. It's almost like you're riding the brake when you want to ride the gas. You're like, you're
Exactly.
stopping yourself. Like, I want it. Every time you say I want it, it means I don't have it. And so then the I don't have it like stops the it's here already. And it sometimes feels a little bit intimidating to imagine the thing you want already being here. And for me, sometimes what helps is to just be into the ordinariness of it. Like if I really, really wanted this top, but I couldn't imagine wearing it, then I'll like imagine wearing it and saying, oh, that old thing. It's like it's become comfortable.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, it like takes away that urgency, that intensity, and that grasping to have it. I mean, that old thing is kind of almost an insult, but you understand the
I
difference.
know what you mean. The comfort, yes.
Yeah, it's not shiny anymore. It's not new. It's not exotic. It's not out of reach. It's like, oh yeah,
It's
it's
easy.
here.
It's easy. Yes, that is so important too. It's just the energy that we allow that energy to drive us, I say. And when we don't emphasize so much on I want it, I want it, I want it, because that creates stagnation in the energy, and we just let it just watch it be.
Yeah.
And then you can hold on to that pendulum if you want to and carry it with you. And if not, let the pendulum that's just keeping you hypnotized is the one with fear. So just if you decide to, or at least become aware that there are other pendulums, that's not the only one.
Yeah.
And you can certainly explore further. At least that's another way of attempting to break from that fear.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. You've given a lot of great advice and some beautiful stories. And I'm wondering if there's anything else as we come to the end of our time that you'd like to share, maybe about helpers, healers, and guides, or, healing stories from the heart or something like that.
One beautiful story I think that hopefully is inspiring is this woman that was working and has already two children. She was working exclusively with visualization with me, and she had a moment that was so vivid for her, where she could see a boy, and it was about like 2 years old, and he was crossing a little bridge and was reaching out his hand saying, "Mommy, come," right? And I knew this person, I kept working with her after she had conceived. And around that 2-year mark, she came and she shared with me in tears. She said, "Do you remember that visualization that we had? Well, it happened," she said, and it was like deja vu. And I had my son, except this time, instead of him holding his hand and saying, "Mom, come," he said, "Mom, remember?"
Oh,
Oh,
oh my God, I have chills, like instant
yeah.
chills.
Mhm. And
Oh
that
my
was,
God,
yes,
so
like
intense.
this. Yeah. So this process is one where it's happening. We don't see it when we are visualizing, when we're trusting. Time is just happening. I can't explain it enough, um, because time is not linear, right? It's already there. And so some of these things we just really have to open ourselves to believe, because they are there.
What a powerful story. Thank you for sharing, and thank you to your person for allowing more people to hear that incredible story.
Oh, yes, yes, indeed.
Wow. Yeah, the mysteries of life. We think we have an understanding of things, but it's just
So
most of it's
minuscule.
wrong
Uh-huh.
because we find out if you live long enough, you're like, all the things we thought were this way are actually that way. But mostly
Mm-hmm.
it's wrong. And maybe every once in a while we get a little bit of it right. So,
Exactly.
but just opening your heart and your mind to these mysteries, and like you said, trusting and just being kind of in the present with it and letting it unfold and having faith. It's like that can be the wisdom that leads us through. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh
Exactly.
my goodness.
Mhm.
Oh, it's such a delight always to talk with you
Mhm.
and to spend time, and um it's so wonderful to be around people uh who see these subtle, powerful things and can
Well, the
communicate
feeling
so
is mutual.
clearly. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, thank you.
I
Is it,
thank you.
yeah, is there anything else you'd like to share before we say goodbye today?
No, I think just stay in the moment and listen to your heart.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Okay. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Well, bye now.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. If you want to learn more, you can visit my website for podcast and resources at hopshealingtips.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe to this channel. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and is not providing healthcare advice. Please seek guidance from your professional healthcare team should you need assistance.